why personal branding matters. Why is it important and what does it take?
And we work with incredible women. We help them, create a brand, usually for their business to start. And then it ends up going so deep into the personal.
When we talk about personal branding, it's a performance. Even if you don't see it as a performance, there's some element of I'm being more than I believe I am. And that creates a gap. We need to reparent ourselves and be aware as women that we can't just wait for someone else to give us permission to speak or to have an opinion or to show up, to stand up, to even be provocative, to boast, brag. Oh, look what I did, right? So have you noticed in just everyday conversations, women say sorry a lot.
Yeah, words like just, I just want to do this. I just want to, just checking in. I catch myself doing that too.
You're playing small when we do that. And it feels safer that way. I think that's why we apologize, because we're. Today we're kicking off with the series that is going to cover the 6S system that Laura and I have created. It's a framework that we teach and coach inside of the Founder Circle. And over the coming episodes, Laura is going to talk you through each of the 6 steps from a marketing perspective, and I'm going to talk you through the 6 steps from a mindset perspective. And we're just going to play with that. So now that you know what we're doing, let's get inside why personal branding matters. Why is it important and what does it take?
Yeah, it's so important to talk about and to fully understand. And today we're going to start talking about like the inner work, right? The mindset part of personal branding, because that's actually where the work has to start, because it's the hardest part and it's really important to talk about. So I'm going to kick it off with a little bit of interview of Vicki, who is the mindset coach among us. So Vicki, when we work with women on their brand strategy, we do this all the time. We work with incredible women. We help them, create a brand, usually for their business to start. And then it ends up going so deep into the personal. But we see these amazing women with great offers, the real expertise, so much experience. They're getting results for their clients, but something stops them from showing up and claiming that. From a mindset perspective, what's actually going on here? What do you usually see?
Oh, I think I've seen this every time, and it's so refreshing when we see a woman who just leans into and trusts herself in any situation. And ultimately, what's happening is that's where the gap is. The gap is I'm showing up as the person I think I want to be, or I'm committed to being. And yet, I don't fully trust that I'm that person yet. And particularly when we talk about personal branding, it's a performance. Even if you don't see it as a performance, there's some element of I'm being more than I believe I am. And that creates a gap. And that's where we hear about imposter syndrome. We hear about, a lack of confidence. It's not a lack of confidence. It's almost like you're lying to yourself because you firmly believe inside of you that you're not that person yet.
It's a difficult space to be in, isn't it? When you feel that. Because how do you show up and be authentic and be real, which you want to be and feel, right? We all want to feel that, but yet we don't feel like we're that yet. And why? Why do we get stuck here?
Yeah. Well, we've said it before on our podcast. Girls are raised to be perfect. Boys are raised to be brave. That's pretty much where it all starts. I'm really heartened to see that that is shifting for the younger generation. I'm seeing so many parents. Well, not so much the parents. I'm seeing the evidence in kids. I'm seeing girls charging ahead in family groups, and doing some fantastic, brave things. And it's beautiful to see. Yet there's still several generations that have to catch up. And these are the generations that are in the workspace who are founders and leaders. So we need to reparent ourselves and be aware as women that we can't just wait for someone else to give us permission to speak or to have an opinion or to show up, to stand up, to even be provocative, to boast, brag. Oh, look what I did. Right? I mean, there's so much conditioning around each of those things. That would be enough for a whole episode on each one.
Definitely, definitely. And we see often that women feel that they need to apologize for their brand before like we even have a chance to look at it and delve into it. What is that about? Where is that apology? Again, is that going back to confidence and showing up? Why are they apologizing first?
Yeah. And also, have you noticed in just everyday conversations, women say sorry a lot. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, words
Uh,
like just, I just want to do this. I just want to, just checking in. I catch myself doing that too.
same,
I
same.
think this, you feel like you need to like preface everything.
Yeah, it's you're playing small when we do that. And it feels safer that way. I think that's why we apologize because we're saying in advance, this isn't going to be great. Don't expect anything fabulous because, I'm sorry, it's just this. We're playing small, we're keeping ourselves safe. Of course, all this happens at the unconscious level. We wouldn't intentionally do this or be like this. Of course, we want the opposite for ourselves. But it does take training and it does take reparenting, reconditioning, repatterning the way we think first about ourselves and then the world. One of my favorite expressions, Laura, is we don't see the world the way it is. We see the world the way we are.
Oh,
And what that means is
oh,
that each person has a different lens. And so, we might see that someone is aggressive or boasty or whatever it is that we might have an issue with. But actually, that's our interpretation of that. And if we could shift that,
we can
yeah,
shift that. Exactly. I was going to say the same thing. Like we can change that because when we do that inner work on ourselves, that's how we change the external. I think that's what therapists are always trying to teach us is that you can't change others, but we can change ourselves. And when we change ourselves, we inadvertently change others, or at least we change the perception of others and the world that we see and the world that we live in. And
yeah,
that ripple effect, right, actually changes our environment because we've changed something within ourselves. And often it can just be the confidence to be brave and to do the risky, difficult, stressful, whatever thing it is to you.
yeah,
Yeah, we see this
absolutely.
show up a lot in our system. We see this show up a lot in our community when we talk to people. Like little things show up in every stage of our system.
Yeah, let's go through them. The six S's. We have a 6S system for those of you who are just joining this whole idea. 6S system. So we have six S's to personal branding and it works in a cycle. So you can start pretty much anywhere, but we always encourage you to start with strategy. So let's go through them and have a look at how it shows up.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first S is strategy, right? Strategy is your positioning, your values, your mission, vision, all the things. But it's getting deep into that and understanding that and speaking that clearly. And this is where a lot of people we see get stuck. And
Yeah,
it's kind of the hardest part, but also the foundation, right? The most important part because you build everything up from strategy.
yeah, yeah. And it really requires a lot of belief in yourself and in your ability to serve others. When we talk about strategy, we're talking about your why. Why are you doing this in the first place? Why you? Why do you need to be doing this in the world and making the impact and making people's lives better? Ultimately, it's the reason any founder does anything is to make someone's life better, easier, you know, faster. So that's the why. And then there's also this permission element that comes in because if you, first of all, you must believe in your vision before anyone else can believe in it. Like that goes without saying, right? Why would anyone else buy into your vision if you're not rock solid in it? And I think some of that comes with a need to give yourself permission to be that person, to do that thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it takes some courage here. It definitely takes courage, and that's part of the mindset is how do I be brave? How do I speak this thing out into the world? How do I create this and share my mission in a way that feels real and authentic and genuine? And I think one thing I found, I say for myself, is when I flip that into how I help others and who I'm here to serve, and it's not about me anymore. It's about how I help others. And my mission is to get more women to build personal brands so that they can be successful and go out and do and have impact and do the things that they want to do and then serve the people that they serve. That ripple effect, that for me is my mission. It's easy to speak that. It's easy to talk on that. It's easy to come on here and share that because it's not about me. And I think when you make that switch and you get it away from you and how you can help others, then it makes getting on any stage so much easier.
So brilliant. Yes, that is a key. It helps you get out of your own head because you're doing it for someone else. And we all know that women are really good at doing stuff for other people. So if that's going to be the key to success, if that's the way to do it, that's your hack. Jump in and do it. I mean, it's not just a hack. It's genuine. That's where your passion can flow because you care so deeply about the issue or the solution that you bring. Yeah.
And the
Great.
next step in our system is story, right? And I always throw it to you, Vicky, when it comes to stories, because storytelling is something you're exceptionally good at. But it's something we all need to work at getting better at, is telling our story, sharing that story, and figuring out what stories are resonating. And this is where a little bit of marketing, it's the experimentation, right? It's testing it out. It's sharing it on different platforms and seeing how it lands. And then the ones that land really well, telling them over and over and over again.
Mm,
We are a culture. As humans, we learn from stories. We love stories. Stories are the things that are memorable and stick in people's head. That's why storytelling is such an important part of our system. And getting good at it is not the easiest thing to do. But with a lot of practice, it becomes so much more natural and just becomes part of who you are, right? And your stories. And stories are what resonates with people. So, how do we get into a mindset of being able to tell our story without feeling really icky about it?
yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much there. There's so much there. The key to a story really sticking is the vulnerability, right? It's when you really show a part of you that feels so relatable that it's memorable. People can't forget it. And when we talk about being vulnerable, the women in our community, they're amazing. They always come up to the plate and say, "Yeah, we learn amazing things about each other when we have this conversation in the circle." And yet, when they first join, it's all the questions about, well, how much is too much? How much do I share? Is my vulnerability going to undermine me? Is it going to make me look weak? I mean, there's a whole, I guess, stigma around sharing a part of your personal journey in a work environment. We're building a business. We're not in a therapy session, right? But there's going to be an element of vulnerability that is going to make you so memorable and so real and so connected. I could share a quick story with you. One that comes to mind about this is a woman I was working with. She was very well renowned. She had many clients in the industry that I was working in at the time as a senior leader. And she was contracted to do some service training with us, customer service training. And halfway through the training, we took a lunch break, and I found her sleeping under the table of the training room. And of course, it completely took me by surprise. You wouldn't expect to see the trainer, this very well renowned, very well coiffed, incredibly professional woman, sleeping under the training room table while everyone else was out at lunch. I was like, what is going on? And I have to admit, there was a bit of judgment, like, what's happening here? Like, all the things came into my mind, worst case scenario. Do you know what? It turns out that woman, she's amazing, was was a cancer survivor. In fact, she was still undergoing treatment for cancer. And she just had learnt that to manage her energy, she needed to nap. in the middle of the day. It didn't hold her back from running her business. It didn't hold her back from taking on clients and doing our training. And she is doing a kick butt job of it. You would never have known. But until we had that moment together, for me to, she obviously she woke up and I asked, is she okay? And she told me her story. And it stuck with me. That was like 20 years ago. That's vulnerability.
It is. It is. Definitely there is always that question of like, I want privacy versus, what do I share? And the funny thing for me, the story I always remember is the movie 8 Mile with Eminem starred in it. And
Yeah.
there's a part in the movie where, he's on stage competing against this guy in this rap battle. And he knew the guy was going to attack him for all the things, like against him. Like, he lived in a trailer park. His mom was this, da, 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 all the things wrong with his life. But he got to rap first and he went and said all the things he was expecting the guy to say. Like, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, I've done this, yeah, my mom's this. And then the guy got on the stage with the mic and had nothing left to say.
Yeah.
That has stuck with me for so long. And it tells the point. You share the things that people could attack you with and the things that you're vulnerable or afraid of saying, then they have nothing else to say. Wow. Like, it's owning it. It's just owning your life, your experiences. And there's so much we've learned through our life's experiences, even the tough things, even the worst parts of life. We've learned through that. We've grown through that. We've come out stronger through that. When we tell those stories, we help others who are actually in those spaces themselves get out of it easier, right? And anytime we can, I feel like, pull somebody along faster, I can help somebody build a brand faster rather than taking 10 years to build a brand. Maybe you can build it in 6 months if you do these steps, and I can help you like know what steps to go through, and Vicki can help you with the mindset shifts that you need to get there faster. If we can help people get to where they need to get faster and get to success faster, then it's a win. And everything I'm doing is worth it. And that's beautiful when you can find whatever that is for your business that you can help somebody else along get there faster. You're improving the lives from everybody else. It's that sort of pull everybody up mindset. And stories do that really, really well. But the part we know most people get stuck on in our system is socials, right? Because social media is a sticking point for most people. And I'll be honest, I don't love social media either. I find it a difficult space to play in a lot of times. But showing up, sharing, figuring out systems, which is another part of our whole system here, is the way to do it to make it easier to find the ways that you like to do it. Some people love to grab a camera and talk about something. Some people love the process of editing and adding B-roll and music and making something beautiful to tell a great story. That's amazing. Like, well, just figuring out what works for you is what's important, because like showing up, sharing, letting people know that what you're doing exists in the world is kind of it, right? What else? What else can we help
Can't tell a
people with?
secret.
Yeah.
Can't tell a secret. Social media is just another room that you can be in to speak, to share your message, to share your thought leadership. Yeah. Like often we think, you know, I've heard you share, oh, I only have 200. You've shared this as a training, as a teaching moment. If people complain or concern they only have 200 followers on their social media platform, and then you flip it and you say, well, imagine if you were standing on a stage in front of 200 people. Well, that's exactly where you're at. So now if you have 2,000 or 20,000 on your platform, you're standing on that same stage. So it's really important. I mean, we'll talk more about into this when we talk about the marketing aspect specifically, but it is important to speak to your social media platforms as if you're just talking to one person. Yeah. It's very personal. It's a way of networking as well. Socials doesn't always mean, in our 6S step, socials doesn't always mean social media. It can also mean social in the room. We'll be talking about that this week in the
Yeah.
circle.
Social networking. Yeah, exactly right. How do you do that effectively? It's an important thing. And it's very uncomfortable for a lot of people to walk into a room that they don't know everybody and don't have a buddy next to them, and they'll go sit themselves in a corner, or they'll find one person and talk to them for the rest of the night and miss the whole opportunity to share what you're
Yeah.
doing with a big audience, right? And
Lived
meet
it.
lots of people and grow your
Totally get
network.
it. Lived it.
It's
I'll save that
fun.
story for another day, but oh my goodness, you just saying that just sent it right through my body again.
And everybody listening to this right now can think of an uncomfortable networking situation because we've all been there, every single one of us, and it is something difficult. But when you figure out, like, again, back to the how you help others, how you position yourself, how you share your mission, how you introduce yourself, when you kind of like get yourself a little system around this and practice it, it gets easier every time. Because anything you do over and over again gets easy over time. Like, that's just the truth. So it's about doing it, it's about showing up.
Familiar. This is a mindset piece, familiarity. It feels hard in the outset because you're not familiar with it. It's the first time you're doing it. Of course, it's going to be clunky. Of course, you might mess up. So, you need to mess up to get good at something. I've just recently come back to playing squash, after 20 something years of not being on the court. Trust me, my game is not what it was 20 years ago, but it's all right if I just haven't won a game yet. I've been doing it for several months, but it's okay because every time I go, I learn a new shot, I learn a new technique, and I learn that resilience within me. I'm getting a little tired of getting whipped on the court, but that's okay. Have a little chat with myself at the end of it. And this is the thing, it takes familiarity, mind, muscle. You've got to work it and just do it until it's so familiar. They say that it takes 10,000 hours. I think it's a bit of a fable, but the expression is that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. It's just about repeating the thing. Just keep doing the thing. And then it becomes so familiar that you start getting fun and playing around with it. Yeah.
I truly believe that anybody can get good at anything if you practice it enough. I definitely think talent plays a part in most things to get to like the highest level of whatever you're doing. Like Olympic athletes have to be talented in that sport, not just practiced. It takes a little bit of both. But just practice alone can get you so much further. So
Yeah.
whatever you're doing, and whether it's speaking, because that's another S in our system is speaking. Speaking is like getting on a stage, getting on a podcast, even writing a book is, in our eyes speaking, but it's sharing your thoughts on a bigger platform in a more longer form content, basically, rather than short, 30-second, 60-second social media bits, which can take a long time to build trust. Getting on a stage, speaking on a panel at a conference, being on a podcast for an hour, writing something, blogs, books, whatever it is, those sort of longer form contents can get people to know you, like you, and trust you so much faster than shorter, interactions, which socials usually provide. But like speaking is like everybody's greatest fear, the thing nobody wants to do, and yeah, again, it's practice. It's practice and mindset. I think plays a
Yeah.
big part in this.
Yeah. I think we get
What do you
so
think?
caught up in this whole the haters, the judgment, the self judgment, the external judgment, the patterns of, what we're used to when we grew up. People mocking us, heckling. We think of the worst case scenarios instead of thinking about the important message that we're sharing and why it matters to us and why it's important to us. And I like to, whenever someone gets stuck in something, including myself, I like to take myself right back up to why. The strategy. It always starts with strategy. It always comes back to strategy. If I get stuck or if I find I'm procrastinating or I know I want to do something like, send a podcast pitch to a couple of podcasts, right? You might do all the wonderful things to get to the place of having it ready. Are you pressing send on the email? So are you making that phone call that you wanted to make? These are the things that just think yourself right back to your why. Why are you doing this? Why does it matter to you? Why is it important? It will get you unstuck in a flash most times if you can really connect in with it at the emotional level. Because once you know that and you're really clear on why you're doing it and what it would cost you not to do it, everything else, you can work out everything else. It just happens. It's the pain of not doing the thing you want to do, that you're called to do. It's that pain that drives you to do the things that are hard or unfamiliar.
Yeah. It's so true. And I think it's also like having the mindset that it's okay to not be great at it when you start. Like it's totally fine to not be great. Like nobody is great at it when you start. And that's a beautiful thing about marketing. It's like marketing is one great big experiment of trying things and figuring out what works for you and your audience and your niche and your everything. Like and then what platforms are you going to be on and what's going to have the impact. And then it's continuously experimenting because marketing changes all the time because trends change, algorithms change, what you do changes, how you help people changes. There's this constant evolution. And like, it's okay to try new things. Maybe they don't work out, so you move on to something else. Maybe it starts working, and then you go, oh, okay, this is working, so let's do more of this. And you just start going down the path of what's working, and that's all it is. So, you start speaking and getting on more stages, and then you get good at it, and people like you, then you get invited on more stages, right? You go on a podcast, you do a great job on a podcast. Guess what? You're going to get invited on more podcasts. It's just kind of the way it goes. But if you never try it, you're never going to know that this is the path that I should be heading down. And that is a bit of the mindset shift we want people to make. It's like, just try it. You may not be great at it, but just keep going and then figure out what is working and then do more of that. Like, it's not that complicated, but it's the art of like starting that most people get stuck.
Yeah, yeah, and I love how you describe that. Just being okay with the messiness of it. Be okay with that because we just judge ourselves so much. It's I would say especially women, but I think it's everybody. It's a human condition to just judge ourselves and be so hard on ourselves. We're our worst critic. Just let's give ourselves a break.
Yeah. And you don't have to be perfect at first. I mean, we started this podcast with just like a laptop. And then over time, bought a nice mic, so my sound got better, bought some good lights, so my lighting got better, like tweaked the background to something, like all the things like you just improve over time. If you go back to our old podcasts and listen to any of them, I mean, I think my voice was different. I've worked on like my sound quality, like all the things have improved over time. But if we worried about getting all those things perfect and getting the perfect mic and getting this lighting and getting that, we would have never started because we would have been so caught up in the like perfection loop of let me fix all the things first that we just don't do it. And sometimes you just got to say yes and go for it and try it and experiment and allow it to be messy and magic can happen out of that. And it's great. And you just keep going and keep trying it and keep getting better at it. Yeah. And building systems, because that's the next S in our system is systems. So we have to build systems for ourselves to make this easy because here's the reality. You can do all the things, but you're busy in your business. And when you're busy in the business, what's the first thing that goes? Marketing. Because we've got business, you've got clients, you've got services that you're doing, you're just kind of busy. So you may have a lot of things going on and you just put marketing to the side. I don't need to do marketing right now, I'm busy. Well, guess what? Everyone gets slow periods. Markets change. Just talking about evolution, well, guess what? The economy evolves, things happen, and you might hit a slow period. If somebody else doing the same work as you and they've continued marketing through their busy period, when they're not going to hit a slow period because when things slow down, they're still going to be the one remembered. If you, on the other hand, didn't market while things were busy, then you hit a slow period, everyone's forgotten about you, and now the market is contracted, guess what? They're going to remember the person that's kept marketing. So that's always been my message is market through all the times because if you keep that consistent, then you're going to be the one remembered. It's like the squeaky wheel getting the oil analogy. And here's the thing, if you don't build a system around it when you're busy, you're not going to do it. It's not going to get done because you're going to be too busy to focus on marketing. So what do you do? Right? Our solution is that we do these long form contents, we do podcasts, and then we clip them into short form for social media. So we constantly have social media going, even though we don't want to create social media every single day, but we can have social media running all the time because we start with long form and then we just get them clipped to short form. It's just the system that works for us. So figuring out what's that system for you. Do you batch content? Do you hire somebody to do it for you? Do you, take a day every single month and only create content for that month? Whatever that system is, it's up to you to figure out. But then creating systems for your business, for sales, for marketing, for all the parts of your business, like is the thing that gets you to do it even when you don't want to, or you're too busy to, or life gets in the way.
Yeah, spot on. And try to automate as much as you can. That's a big part of systems. Use the tech. There's so much fabulous tech around it, available at our fingertips that doesn't require a university degree to figure it out. Like in the old
Exactly.
days, I used to
Exactly.
joke, you need a university degree to work this out. It's just so available to us now. Lean into automation and tech that will lighten your load. Yeah, that would be our suggestion. And then the final of the six S's is scale. And this happens organically. When you've done all the other steps, your business and your profile and your personal brand and your thought leadership, it all is just scaling naturally because of the things that you've put in place and because that system that keeps it repeatable, delivering repeatable results. So yeah, how does it show up in for women in scaling who still have some work to do around self-trust? That usually, would be just that, again, it's that permission base. It's like, do I deserve this? Am I worthy of it? Um, is it okay for me to take up this much space? Particularly when we talk about personal branding and thought leadership, we um, we see women just playing small, but also not wanting to use the space, or they'll speak and then cut themselves short because they're leaving space for others, which is, of course, a beautifully considerate thing to do. When you're building your personal brand and you're setting yourself up as a thought leader, you're showing people what you're worth. Let other factors stop you. Don't stop yourself. Don't hold yourself back. Don't think that you can only take up so much space. Um, I learn a lot from men in this space, and I mean it with the most loving heart, is that guys don't apologize for who they are or how much time they take or whether they're a couple of minutes late or the quality of their work. It just doesn't factor into their DNA. It's just not the way they are. And ladies, I think we can all learn from that.
Yeah, I think it's really important, especially at this stage and when we're talking about scaling. It's like in a reflection point, but it's also let's think about the future. So you're looking back to say, okay, what have I accomplished? Where am I at now? But you're also looking for like, where do I want to go? And I think if we don't take the time to do that regularly, to see where we want to go and think about what our future vision is and how we get what growth looks like to us. Is it financial growth, that you're looking for? Is it growing a bigger company? Is it just growing yourself personally in your personal development so that you get more confident, you get more self-assured, you get more, opportunities because of that? What is that for you? Some of us just want to go alone and just only ever want to be a solo entrepreneur. There's nothing wrong with that. Like if that's your path and that's what you want, amazing. Others want to do like what we're doing, collaborating to build a business. Others want to grow a huge business. Somebody might want to be a billionaire. Whatever it is, wherever the growth is for you, like this is the point to sort of reflect on it and then start to make a vision forward. And then our system returns right back to strategy because once you're there, once you kind of have a clearer vision of where you want to go, it's about time to return to strategy. Go, okay, is my strategy still working? Is this still the niche I want to work in? Is this still the message I need to put forth? Or do I need to grow that? Do I need to improve it? Do I need to tweak it? How am I introducing myself? What are my values? Are my values actually my values? Like, am I proving myself to be living the values I say are important to me? Yes, no, let's tweak. So it's about that return back to the baseline, the foundation, maybe build another layer on top of your foundation. Maybe that needs to build and grow. Or maybe you need to go back to the drawing point because it's not working. Okay, so let's figure out what is. So this system works really well because it helps you to grow, it helps you to build, it helps you to think, and make decisions, but it also helps you look back on what's working, what's not, and then look forward at the same time. And that is what builds a really successful personal brand because you're taking that time to really go deep internally. And that's what we're all about. It's really about ourselves. It's the best personal development journey you'll ever go on. Is when you build a business, when you build a brand. And it is more important now than ever to be building a personal brand, because we are facing a future that is going to change rapidly before our eyes. And the ones who are standing out, who are standing up, who have a strong personal brand are going to be the ones that win. If you're sitting back just watching from afar what's going on, it's going to be a whole lot harder to get into the game when the game starts moving really, really quickly. And entrepreneurs are going to be needed, and entrepreneurs are going to be the ones seeing the gaps, figuring things out, building things rapidly. This is the time, this is the age to be doing that. There's tools, like you said, so many tools available for us to make this easy. And it's going to be about needing that mindset and being the one that's showing up, being the one that's speaking out, being the one that people trust and want to work with. It's going to be more important now than ever. Like, I really, truly, in my deepest heart, believe this is important work to be doing right now.
Yes, 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 and yes. And more vulnerability, because vulnerability is a human trait. And whenever all the content that we're seeing, that doesn't stop me in my scroll anymore, by the way, but the content that's AI generated, where's the vulnerability in it? Where's the humanness in it? Be human. Show you. Bring your human heart and your human connection to your message, to your work, to your clients, to your partners, to your stakeholders, to your team. This is where the rubber hits the road. You being you, and you trusting you and showing up in your confident self. And all of what we've discussed is what we help with. So listen, we'd love to invite you into We Women's Founders Circle if any of this has resonated with you and you are a female founder. Just message one of us. We're going to make sure that you're well taken care of, and there'll be a link there for you to have a look and learn more about the circle. Or like I said, just message one of us, and we'd love to chat and see if it's a fit for you. Absolutely. So we can wrap it up there, I think. And look, until next week, we're going to do this again every week, talking about a different step in the system from a marketing perspective and from a mindset perspective. So see you next week. Stay visible.